Hello, this is Kelly Hammond, and welcome to the Resiliency Coach podcast. This podcast showcases people who have faced difficult times and how they got through it. These experiences are real and sometimes raw. The people who share their stories here are to tell you you're not alone in your struggle. They share the tools and resources they use in healing. If you're looking for solutions for getting through tough times, contact us at www.resiliency.coach. So today, I'm interviewing my friend, Claire Miller. She's a woman who's come to realize that the Lord's hand is always extended. She is also a holistic practitioner, mother of three, and grandmother of three, and proud doggy mama of three. So Claire, thank you so much for being my guest today and for sharing your story with us.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Would you please share your story with us now?
I would love to. A little background. I'm a very religious person, and it tends to guide my life and my path. So that's in that framework. I had an experience that happened many years ago that taught me that the Lord loves me always. We were the normal family, 3 kids, trying to get through every day and with different experiences and obstacles, just like everybody else. But things started to go a little different. Bills started to come in. My husband and I both worked, and we started having to live from paycheck to paycheck because of the times and because of circumstances that were taking place. And so that became a very stressful thing. And then my husband was diagnosed with a tumor, and hospital bills started coming in, and surgery bills, and more bills and more bills. And I did not make great financial decisions as being the person who had to run everything at that moment in time. I paid some bills with credit cards because I didn't have any way to pay other bills. And I was not financially savvy as some people are, as we are more today and such. I just was trying to survive and get by. And we got deeper and deeper and deeper in debt, and more things came. And our church held a conference, and at that conference, 4 different speakers who were leaders in our church stood up and said, brothers and sisters, whatever you decide to do, these are hard times, but make sure you don't get involved in getting an extra mortgage on your home. Don't do that. And then they went on with their talks, and I thought, wow, that's really strange. Okay, well, time passed, the conference was over, and time passed, and the debt just seemed to overextend itself. And my husband turned out to be great, and he got his health back, but we were saddled with thousands and thousands of dollars worth of debt. And this letter came in the mail and said, we understand that you are really in debt. We're here to help you. If you mortgage your house, we can give you the exact amount to pay off all of this debt. And then you can consolidate it all, and showed me how it would all work. And back in my mind, I heard what the leader said, but I was a desperate woman. I didn't even have money for Christmas for my kids, or, and I signed the paper. I got the money and paid off the debt. And my house payment went from $800 a month to $1,800 a month. And when that hit, we went to find out about it and found out that it had been a scam. And we were devastated and realized that we were going to be bankrupt. I have never been a more demoralizing situation than going to court for something I had done wrong. I felt like a criminal, and the tears just rolled down my face. And I thought about, had I been obedient, had I followed my leader's advice. You know, there's a religious writing, I don't remember who it's by, but turn of the century author who calls it Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God. And I felt like that. I felt like I was such a sinner. Here I was. And then the judge in the court looked at my husband and I and said, "You're both college graduates. You should know better." And he said, "I'm going to make you an example." And he proceeded to take everything we owned that was not nailed down. We were stripped of everything, including the piano that my father had given my daughters to learn piano with, their piano. And he said, "Nope, that goes too." And we were cleaned out of everything, plus our home and cars, everything. It was all gone. We had nothing. And as we walked out of there, we were homeless. And we went back to the house we were living in that we had worked so hard on. And I was in the pits of despair and wondering how we were going to do this, and wondering, and my husband still wasn't well enough, so it fell on my shoulders more, and what I could do with my kids. And I needed to keep them with as least amount of trauma as possible. But can I tell you, the day they came to get our piano, my girls went into a deep depression. They were sobbing in the other room as the piano was taken away. And I thought, had I listened, boy, am I, and then I started to put myself down, and I started to say all those horrible, if I were smarter, if I were, and why, oh, this was the stupidest thing, and how could, and on, and just really take myself down that rabbit hole. We were still living in the house, and we decided to stay there till the foreclosure notice came on our door. By the grace of God, we stayed there an entire year. It did not come. We kept waiting for it every day. We were packing up in the garage, and every day we looked and well, we got another night here, but we were literally, we were homeless. At that point in time, after the year had passed and we were still reeling from all of this financial thing and trying to keep the kids on the straight and narrow and keep them. Why would God do this to us, Mom? Why would, no, this isn't God. This is your mother. I kind of, crashed and burned here, and I'm really sorry. And we had a lot of talks along those lines. A phone call came. And by this time, I'm really wary of anybody. And hello, are you Claire? And, yeah. Oh, do you teach school? Yes, I teach school. Good. I help teachers. Immediately, red flags and, everything came up. And I said, oh, you do? And he says, I know you're going to think this is a scam. Well, yeah. He says, but I do. I help teachers. And I saw on a docket that your house is coming up for foreclosure. I didn't even know that. I said, yes, it is. I would like to buy your house and let you rent it. I said, okay. He says, may I come and talk to you? So we invited him to come and talk to us. And he said, first up, before we start, my husband and I were sitting there, before we start, you need to know I make money doing this. Well, that impressed me, that he was up front. And then he said, what I want to do is buy your house. it will be 3 years after the foreclosure that you will be able to buy another home. At the end of the 3 years, you can decide to buy this house from me, or you can move out and I will sell it. But I make money doing this. So you decide what you'd like to do, but you can rent it from me. And this is how much, which was lower than the house payment that I had been making. And we said, okay, well, give it a shot. Go try it. The only person that was at the county courthouse steps, and they still do that outside on the county courthouse steps, was the second mortgage willing to take it over so that they could make a profit. Well, this man walked up to the guy who was there, and he says, "Aren't you hungry?" And he just looked at him. He says, "Wouldn't you like to go to lunch?" He said, "No, I'm waiting for this house to come up." He said, "No, let me buy your lunch. Let me give you some money to go to lunch." And he handed him $2,000. He said, "If you go, you can have this." And the man walked off and he bought the house. And we got to live here. We didn't have to, we moved all the boxes back into the house and started unpacking, and we got to live here. That was restored to us. To me, that was a miracle. God had extended his hand again. And then a car came. And then this happened and that happened. And all of a sudden, the things that were taken from us, one thing after another, was restored. At the very end, about within that year, my teaching partner came to me one day and said, "Claire, I got a problem." I said, "Oh, okay." And I had never divulged any of this to anyone that I worked with or neighbors or anything because it was embarrassing. And she said, "My daughter just moved out and she's going to live with her husband in another state. And she left her piano and I don't want it. Would you like it? Or do you know somebody who would want a piano?" And I said, I'm here, right here, yes. And so the piano was restored. Everything was brought back. As I went to the Lord in prayer and repented and asked for forgiveness for not listening to advice that he was giving, to not having the open ears and the courage to follow through like I should have, he taught me that he still loves me. And that when we make mistakes, big or small, he just wants to help us to be able to be on the right path. He is not a sinner in the hands of an angry God. That's a lie. He is a father who loves us with his entire heart and wants only to help us to have all that he has. And we just have to be obedient to be able to receive those blessings that we need. So that's my story. And what has helped me so much is when I have had experiences where people have come to me who feel that they have made mistakes past God's love. I tell them this story, and I tell them everything will be restored. Just get back on the path that leads you to him.
I like that a lot. It's a beautiful story of restoration. And when you talk of restoration, you talk of wholeness and making complete. And as you were going through those things, what tools or resources did you use to be able to just survive through that? What tools would you say you used?
Prayer, a lot of prayer. I use the scriptures a lot. That gave me a lot of comfort. And I learned that information from my mother. Hang in there. There is another side to this. If you're in the middle of a trial, this is not the rest of your life. This is uncomfortable here and now, but just think what it's going to be like in 2 weeks. In fact, I used that when I had surgery recently. I kept thinking, okay, I'm going into surgery, and it was rather a difficult surgery. And I kept thinking, I wonder what next Monday is going to be like. See, it's not going to be like this. Next Monday is going to be wonderful. You know, I will be through the 3 days post-surgery, and yes, Monday is going to be wonderful. And so we have to realize that as we enter the trial and are in the trial, there's the other side. We come out of it. It will not be eternal. And one of my friends who had cancer, as we talked about it, that's true there too. She kept thinking, as they removed both breasts and went through everything that they went through, she kept thinking, there's going to be a time I'm going to walk down this path. Now, it may be a heavenly path, or it may be an earthly path, but I'm going to be on the other side of this. And that's what she held on to, is the future and hope. And I think hope is a huge piece of it's going to get better.
That's important, hope, to know that there is another end to this story. There is an end to the story, and that you will find light at the end, and to keep that hope. I love Churchill's saying that he said, and of course I'm paraphrasing, but if you're going through hell, keep on going.
And you know, he said something else that you brought him up. He said, never, 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 never give up.
Yep.
You know, as the bombs were falling on London. I mean, that's just, it'll be okay. We'll get on the other side.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Such hope. I love your message of hope, that you're right. Don't give up. This is the time to put your heels in, to dig in, and to know that tomorrow will be better, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day, or the life after. Because there will be relief, there will be light, there will be peace, there will be happiness at the end of this. And you're right, nothing lasts forever in pain, that is.
That's true. And sometimes you have to look at what is good while you're in the middle of the pain or the trial. Well, you know, there's flowers outside my door. Let me go look at those. Are so beautiful. And move yourself into another space and take a break from the pain or whatever it is, or be involved in something, drawing, writing, whatever, where you move yourself out of the space of pain and take a break from it and are able to come back into it. That I also found out was helpful to me. Sometimes it was meditation, sometimes it was writing, sometimes it was going and sitting in my backyard and going, I still have a backyard. I may be renting it right now, but these are still my flowers, and these are still my garden, and we're still here. And, you know, so yes.
Like that, stepping away from the pain. That's great advice, to find an outlet where you can find relief, if just for a minute, to be able to go outside, take a breath, meditate, draw, journal, but step away from the pain. The pain will be there, but you can step away from it. You don't have to sit in it all the time. I like that a lot. So if somebody is going through the difficulty that you have gone through, and they were sitting right next to you, what piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, the very first thing I would say, many people have been through this. You are not the only one that has experienced this. Many people have survived it. You're going to survive it. It's okay. Things will get better. I wish I'd heard those words, because at the time when he declared all those things and I walked out of that courtroom, I can't begin to tell you where that sent me. And if somebody had been next to me and said, it's tough, this is tough, but you got this, it's going to happen. And what I would say to this person is, you got this. Things will get better. It will happen. So that first initial thing is hope, and hope for betterment. And then I would just say, let's plan. Let's plan it out. How are we going to deal with your children, with your husband, with your significant other, whoever? Let's plan what we're going to do and what things we're going to make this as easy as we can. We had to, of course, reduce all of our expectations financially. We had to make a plan. We had to come up and what we could do to keep the least amount of trauma from happening. So I would talk about hope. I would talk about planning, and I would talk about not beating yourself up, because everybody makes mistakes. Mine happened to be a juicy one, but everybody makes mistakes, and you can come out of that.
I love it. Yes, everybody does make mistakes. That's a part of being human. And sometimes it looks ugly. Sometimes it's painful, the mistakes too. It causes us or our family, but there's a way out. There's always resources. There are always people, and we are not defined by our mistakes. We are defined as the human beings and children of God that we are.
You know, as you were talking, it reminded me one other thing that I would say is I would look for the hand of God in everything as he begins to pull you out, as we turn our hearts to him. And I spent hours praying, please help me, please guide me, please help me understand all of that. There was a quote in Reader's Digest that said, coincidence is when the Lord remains anonymous. And great things happened one step at a time. This coincidence happened. This man came into my life. The piano, by coincidence, came from my teaching partner. A car came from over here. Food came in. I mean, my kids got shoes and ta-da. We were on, coincidence. But all behind of that was my Heavenly Father saying, okay, let's help you get back on the track. And here are the things that will help you. And he orchestrated that. And with gratitude, I'm grateful for having had the experience. We're fine and happy, and we've been in this same house now nearly 30 years, never having moved, and our life is good because the Lord extended his hands.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Now, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
Well, I'll give you my contact information.
Great.
It is, you can email me at mrmcmm1@msn.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I'm Claire Marie Miller on Facebook. Just friend me and talk to me, PM me, and we will chat.
Thank you so much, Claire, for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. So much fun.
Thank you, audience, for listening to Claire. And remember, there is a way through your difficulty. Please seek out resources and people who can and will help you. Now, if you're looking for alternative tools for handling difficult times or moving ahead in life, contact us at www.resilience.coach. Hope you all have a blessed day and a wonderful life. Goodbye.